Hello everyone and welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about selling and consults, which is fun because you guys have already done one. You might have done one with me, so you have like real-time experience with a consult. Now, for the agenda today, we're going to talk about how you build belief. We're going to talk about something called the belief triad and how to build that so someone will purchase your product. The next thing, we're going to talk about how to have a purchase process. We want to make sure there's a very clear place for people to actually buy in from you and making sure they're able to clearly find out how to do a consult. We're going to talk about how to get your links for the consults and how to have maybe QR codes with interchangeable links. And then we're going to talk about the sales process. And that's going to be making sure things are ready for you and your business. Now, the belief triad. This is like the mecca of your business. This is like going for everything in your business and something that sometimes I'll have to do as I go on selling new products. We want to make sure that you build belief for your program. If you do not have belief, you are not going to sell, you are not going to market, and you are not going to deliver this product. But it's the most important thing for selling. You need to believe that you as an individual, as a service provider, are an amazing person for someone to buy from and for them to get your product. So we want to think about, as you bring in beliefs, this is something I do daily on occasion, and we want you to think about, why are you the best person for someone to buy from? And the next thing, you want to think about your customer. Why is this the best thing for your customer? Whenever I do a group launch, and just so you know, some of you might have group and one-on-one. Again, we're focusing on one offer. However, if that is the situation for you, one of the reasons why it's so difficult to do two offers is you have to build belief for one, and then you have to build belief for the other. So a lot of times what will happen is what happened in the past is I was selling my mastermind, got super excited about selling the mastermind, and then I was like not really into selling one-on-one. And currently at this phase in my business, even the first year I ever did it, I only spent 1 month out of the year selling the mastermind. So a lot of us get excited about new flashy things. We're like, ooh, someone would totally buy this. I'm so excited about this. You build excitement. It's a feeling that you build from your thoughts. This is the way you build it. Okay. So if you're not excited about one-on-one, you want to build excitement for it. You want to think about how it's amazing for you. You want to think about how it's amazing for them. You want to think about how it's also really great for your business. And that's what the offer piece is. How is it going to help my business grow? So let's say you're thinking about, like, you want to really sell yourself on one-on-one. You're like, okay, I see that it's really valuable. Megan's talking to me about it. Maybe I should do one-on-one instead of group if I'm thinking about it. And what I would do is I would think about, like, your business as a whole. It's best for you because you're going to gain the experience that you need if you want to create other things later. And you're going to develop the intellectual property to back up a group at a later time. It's best for my customer because they're going to get a lot of attention and they're going to you'll be able to track their progress very easily. You're also it's going to be best for your business because your business is going to gain a lot of cash reserve that you can use for if you sell a group at, let's say, a lower price point. You're going to need some of that money left over to continue to invest and build in your business later on. So, the client sales funnel. We want to talk about, like, how people are going to be funneled into your business. And guess what? We have the cold, warm, and hot again. So when we are thinking about growing your audience and growing the sales funnel, this is where cold people might find you. They're like, ooh, I saw a post on social media, or, oh, I saw about this presentation at this networking event, or, oh, I don't know her at all. But, like, that could be a way that people could find you cold. And then let's say that they are like, okay, I'm going to opt in. And that's what, like, opt-ins mean. You might hear about that later. But they're going to say, hey, I like her. I want more of her. This is something that, it's like, or I'm getting to know her. I want to be more involved. And then what you could do is that's when you're going to nurture them. We're going to talk a little bit more about that in 3 weeks, I think, or 2, depending on when the managing your leads are. But then that's like, okay, someone's like reading your posts, they're watching your stories, they're signing up for webinars, they're in it, they're like your warm leads. And then you've got your hot leads. That's when they're like, ooh, I've clicked on your sales page, I've thought about it, I'm thinking about it, I would like to, and they just need, and what I like to think about is like they're one thought away from moving up the funnel. Now, what you want to do is when you're thinking about your sales funnel, and this is something that like I've been thinking about as well, is when you are doing cold leads and you have like a funnel, you want to make sure that you have, this is why having one offer is so important, is you want to have a funnel, if you think about it like this, you know, it like looks like this. You want to have many things that you're doing to bring in cold people. This could be webinars, posting, stories, getting on podcasts, having an email list. All those things are like the big upper part of your funnel. From there, you want to go down and then have like a simpler way for those warmer people to be warmed up. What I like to think about is like all of those things up top. I think about like if there's something that you would like to invest in time in, I think an email list is very helpful. This is something very different than I've said in the past. However, after losing social media for 2 months and knowing a lot of people who have had that experience, big companies like Google, Apple, all of them rely on an email list because you have those names and numbers and emails forever. Like, and if they unsubscribe, that's fine, but they actually like, they are on your list, you have their information. People can, when you're looking at like the big picture, and another reason why I don't want you to obsess about your marketing on social media is I think that of all of the things that you post, only 13% of people actually see that. So it's like people who even like watch, like are on my feed every day, they still don't see everything that I post. So if people are on your email list, then they can actually get your emails and you will be guaranteed that they will see the copy that you are writing them. And then for the hot leads, that's where you want to have the one offer for them to buy. And let's say that you have, a lot of times what happens is people create what's called an inverse funnel. This isn't as effective because think about it. Let's say you just do one thing to market, right? So you do posts. You post every day, right? That's one way. And then there are lots of things that you could do with them in the middle. Maybe you have like a Facebook group and an email list and all this other stuff. It's all in the middle. And then you've got like 10 offers, right? It is the trickle of people have to choose, and it's just not going to be as effective. If you were like, well, you could do group and you could do one-on-one and maybe we could do a one-off session and maybe you could do this and maybe you could do that. It's not going to work as well because your funnel is not in a way to position yourself to serve those people. And you won't see the result in the sales as much. If you keep a marketing funnel like this, a client sales funnel, you are going to be doing, like you're going to be like spending your time doing a bunch of different things, bringing them in, and then selling. So, when you're thinking about booking, this is one of the reasons why I really like having Google as a just a tool and a resource for you guys, because if there's Calendly, there's Acuity, there's a ton of different booking websites where people can book and work with you. We're going to talk about planning your time in the 6 of the 6 essentials, and within that, we're going to talk about how to actually create a calendar on Google Calendar. The reason why I think this is important is, let's say you have a client at 2 o'clock on Tuesday. If you don't integrate your calendar, someone could book, if you're open whenever, you could have people booking and it will overlap with your availability. We want to make sure that that's really clear and very easy for people to book with you. You can also have a link tree. If you want, you can have all of the links about your business, and I always put the coaching consult at the top. So you want to make it, you can interchange the links, you can put up, oh, I've got this challenge, oh, I've got a webinar, oh, I've got, if you need to see my Instagram, you can have all of those things at the top, it'll be like the name of your program. I help statement. Like I help high achievers enjoy their businesses and lives. Now I help entrepreneurs create simple, successful, and enjoyable businesses. And then any preferred social media, any promotions. And again, less is more, simple sells. Now, if you already have a website or you're working to create a website, one of the things that helps your website to get like more Googleable, because that's a word, you want to make sure that people are clicking on your website, because then, and eventually that will matter. So if you do have a website, I'm actually shifting to putting all my links on my website, not a link tree, but if you don't have a website, a link tree is free and very easy. Another way you can do this is with a QR code. So you want to connect your Linktree or QR code, or Linktree or website with the links to a QR code. What I do is on every presentation that I do, you'll see, not on every slide, but at the beginning and towards the end, I have a QR code where people can scan it and start booking consults. And it didn't work for anything up until the last time I launched the group, and I actually had people booking consults while doing the webinar, and it was awesome because then it was so easy. It's like they're interested, you want to catch them at the height of their interest, and then we'll talk about that in presenting a little bit sooner or a little bit later. The next thing is on business cards. So I would highly, one of the things that we're going to talk about in the managing thing is talking about networking. How you can build your network, build more people so that they can know, like, and trust you. And networking events in person are actually a really great thing. Now, business cards, some people say are the thing of the past. However, I bring them to the future by having a QR code on there. And I'm like, hey, I would love to follow you. Like, here's my business card. Feel free to follow me. I can't wait to see you on there. And that's been a really great way for me to build my business as it's grown. Oh, and I also put that on the materials for my webinars. So like you'll see, like if like on each presentation that I do, I usually sometimes will provide an interactive worksheet for people to follow along, and I have my QR code all over there. So the next thing that you're going to be doing is you're going to be having consult calls. This is the best, or a sales call, or a discovery call, whatever you want to call it. And we want to create a separate folder within your Google Drive folder for sales calls. So what I mean by that is you're going to click onto the sales portion. I believe this is like, it'll be 3 and it'll say sales and that kind of stuff. And you will make separate folders. I like to make a folder for pre-consult work, which we're going to talk about in a second, actual consult calls, post-consult, and evaluations. Now, when you do consult calls, I would not recommend calling this a free X, Y, and Z call. I've seen people call things like free coaching calls. And when people come to a coaching call, they want to be coached, right? So it's like they're looking, and I think that people are like, oh, if they just experience this once, they're gonna love it, it's gonna be great. And what happens is the people come in not ready to talk about any sort of business decision, any sort of life decision, and then the people end up booking, or they book the call, and then they're like, why is this person talking to me about joining their program? I just wanted the free thing. So you're getting people who want free stuff, which are not typically ideal clients. They're definitely not ideal clients. They could be in the future, but our clients pay us, so we want to be getting paid clients. The second thing is it's misleading, and we want to be genuine and authentic and be like, hey, this is a call to make a decision about how you're spending your money. We don't want to be getting people on that are like, I'm expecting to like just get a transformation within this call, because then you're also going to build like distrust within your people that could eventually be your people later on. And then I also think that like you want to set clear expectations ahead of time. Like, hey, this is what we're doing. We'll talk about, like, on presentations, I literally like walk people on the consult. You will do this with me if you want to work with me. And I even have posts about it. Like, I'm very clear on a consult. We are talking about the future of your business. You'll make a decision. If I'm the right fit for you, great. If not, that's okay too. But we are on this call to make a decision about you working with me. Now, when you were first getting started, something that was really critical for me is that I set aside 3 hours. 3 hours to do this. Now, again, I was working, but I still found time to do this, especially because those first consults were so important and sustained my business for 7 months. Now, 1 hour before the consult, you'll do a pre-consult worksheet, which we're about to talk about. 1 full hour for the call, because you're not going to be great at consult calls right away. You've got to have that growth mindset, that grit and resilience, like, okay, I'm ready to learn. And then you're going to do an evaluation afterward. I don't have any water. That's okay. Got this. So within this, you want to have a pre-consult worksheet. This, remember we talked about building belief between you, the client, and your offer? This is where the belief is enforced. You want to come onto this call being like, I can totally help this person. So we have this pre-consult worksheet where you can take time to really think about, okay, if I'm not in full belief, if I don't think that the person I'm about to speak with is ready and open, if I'm worried in some way, you have time to do thought work and clean that shit up so you can show up to serve them. Again, you are showing up clean to the consult also to make sure, especially at the beginning of your business, you're going to want to make everyone a yes, even if it might not be the best decision for them. So you have to be like, during this hour beforehand, you have to calm down your nervous system and be like, I'm going to be fine. I do not need this person to buy from me to put food on the table. I will be great whether or not they decide to buy. And that's why I said at the very bottom, it's like, how do you want the person to leave feeling? Especially if they're not a client right now. And I said, empowered and excited and ready to change their life, whether or not they work with me, which is important. Now, when you are on the sales call, you are going to talk to them about an overview of where they are now. You're going to just like get some background info, and that should take like 5 minutes. Like, we want to go quick with that. We want to find out what their goal is. When they finish working with you, what would they like to do? Then you're going to get into your pillars. You are going to talk with them where they are now and where they want to go, specifically with all those things. And then you are going to talk them through your process and make a decision. I'll show you how that works. So again, coming back to the pillars, shocker. And you're going to have within your consult, you're going to have, the pillars are essentially there to guide you on when there's a consult. You're going to be like, okay, what is your problem and what is the solution? So they're going to be sharing the first 2 things with you within that graph, hopefully. If not, you can just add them in. So, if you could click to the next one. My amazing helper here. So, what you want to do is you want to go and you want to look at that client, and you're going to be like, hey, so nice to meet you today. Thank you so much for coming on this call. I just want to know a little bit about you. Like, how did you find me? Great. Let's get into this. So, I don't know if you've done a consult before, but I want to talk to you with the way I do it. I like to find out where you are in these specific categories, which most people are going to be like, oh, I've never heard of that before. That makes me feel safe and excited. Okay? So you're going to be like, okay, here are my categories, and I want to know where you're at now and where do you want to be. And the easiest way for me to gauge your baseline is figuring out where you are now. And if you could just give me a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being the worst, 10 being the best in each category, like a sentence or 2 about why, and then where do you want to be in X amount of time. So for instance, someone comes in and they're like, okay, hey, Megs, I'm so glad to talk with you. I heard about the Career Fulfillment Initiative. I'm excited about it, and I am feeling so I'm ready to just like kind of learn more about what you do. If you can help me, I'm like, great. Let's talk through this. How are you feeling about burnout right now? And they're like, oh, I'm a 2. I'm constantly stressed. Okay, totally understandable, totally normal. So many of my clients felt that way. where do you want to be in X amount of time? Well, I want to feel a little bit better about like the stress, and I always want to be able to manage it. Great. I totally think I can help you with that. What I want to do with you here is we're going to be talking about how to reprogram your subconscious, which sounds kind of funky because you might not think that stress is coming from your subconscious, but what happens is we're going to work on the thoughts that are creating stress because we can't control always the circumstances, and I want to help you so that you feel like so much more ease when you're going throughout your day, because I'm going to put you back in control instead of the circumstances. And I'm like, oh, cool. And then I'll be like, okay, how are you feeling about time management? Oh, I'm a 4. I'm like okay with time management. I just am a little overwhelmed. Totally understandable. Where do you want to be? I want to learn. I want to feel less overwhelmed, and I want to feel like more scheduled. Sounds great. I teach a concept called Monday Hour 1, so you can calendar and schedule your time. Sound good? Yes. Awesome. Okay, let's go to work-life balance. How do you feel about work-life balance? Well, I feel like I do a lot of my work outside of work hours. I think it's one of the reasons why I'm burnt out. I'm working constantly, like 60-hour weeks. Okay, totally been there, done that, wrote a book. Where would you like to be? And I should have almost like turned. I'm like, I hope you can hear in my voice when I'm like different characters. So I'm like, okay, great. Where do you want to be like X amount of time from now? I just want to know how to stop working when the day is over. Awesome. I'm going to teach you how to set, when my clients work with me, I teach them how to set boundaries so there's a clear distinction between work and life. Sound good? Yep. Awesome. Okay. This is me, I guess. When you're thinking about the long-term plan and you're like, I was like, how do you feel about the long-term plan? Where do you see yourself in 10 years? 1 being the worst, 10 being the best. Okay, I'm a 3. I don't really know what I want my future to look like. I feel like it's just kind of like overwhelming to think about. All right, I totally understand that. That's why I created a lot of the concepts that I do. Where would you like to be X amount of time from now? I just kind of want to know what direction I'm going in. Amazing. That's why I have this thing called the Wheel of Life, where we'll create foggy future vision and develop your 10-year plan. Sound good? Amazing. And then I'll take the process that I made into the plan, and what I'll do is I will figure out what was the lowest number for them, and I will be like, okay, so this is the first priority, and then we'll go from there. So since they marked work-life balance as a 1, that's the first thing I want to work on. Okay, so first thing, I want to help you set work boundaries. Do you have a set time in the day? Do you have a set schedule? That's what we're going to work on first, and we're going to work on developing your self-trust so you can leave work at work. And they're like, oh my God, I need that. I'm like, great. And then I want to help you overcome burnout. I want to help you to reprogram some like subconscious responses that you're having so you feel more relaxed and you actually are able to just like experience work as it is, and you'll be able to enjoy your work life outside of work. Does that sound pretty good? Yes, that's exactly what I'm looking for. Great. Then we need to pull back once your day-to-day is figured out. The next category for you was the lowest was the long-term plan. I want to think big picture, so we're going to use the Wheel of Life to create a 10-year plan so you can see the bigger picture and make maybe potential other career decisions from there. And they're like, oh, that sounds amazing. And they'll be like, awesome. And then last but not least, we're going to talk through Monday Hour 1. So if you do decide that you're going to change and transition your career in some way, then you are going to be able to maybe apply for other jobs or start a business of your own while that's going on. They're like, oh my God, this is so clear. And I was talking with a lot of my new clients, and they were like, having this on the consult has been everything. Because a lot of times when we're learning about sales calls, people are like, where are you at now? Where do you want to go? And people will give you their whole life story. If you've done consults before, you know this. Like, it's like, okay, where are you at now? It's like, oh my God, well, my dog's at the vet, and I'm having a really hard time with that. And my boyfriend's kind of rude to me sometimes, and I just like don't even know about him. And let me talk to you about this and that. And it's not clear. And so every time that you're doing a consult, it's like you're recreating the wheel of how you can help somebody. And that is the worst feeling ever, is when you're on a consult and you're like trying to like help somebody, and it just feels like it's like you don't know, you can help them, and you're like, I really, really want to help you, and I have no idea how to articulate this to you. That's happened to me on so many consults at the beginning, and it was just really hard. And then when I got to this, I was like, oh, it's the same for everybody. Your process is the same for everybody. And so when you say that, they're like, oh, first off, you're confident because you're saying the same thing over and over again, so you know what to say. And then even if you have like someone that's a no, it's a very clear no, that it's like, it's just not a good fit. It's not because you didn't explain stuff well enough. And there's going to be times when you don't explain stuff well enough, and that's okay, because for you, it's about learning. It's about getting better. It's going to take a while for you to figure this stuff out. And that's all a part of the process. And we just need to trust that people are coming to us for a reason. And even if they don't work with us, they're going to be okay. You're not going to hurt them by not working with them. Take the pressure off yourself. But we just want to keep getting better at these skills as we go on. The next piece is decision making. So you want to be like, hey, is this a good fit? Is this a good time for you? Do you have any questions? And then why would this be a good time for you? Why not? If you do have questions, if you are like, I need this, I want this, which a lot of people might be like, yes, I want this. You want to get them on your calendar. You want to, after you do this, you want to pull up a sheet where you make your availability. You want to have the times that you're available and update it in that hour before your consult. If you're only available from 8 to 9 at night or something like that, because that's happened for some people who are working full time, and that's okay if that's you, then you need to say, let's start next week. I would like to put you on for Monday at 9. Does that work for you? And they will be like, here are the times. Which one of these times works for you? And get them on the calendar. Some people might be people pleasing you, and they might just say, oh yeah, I like really would love to do that. Be like, great, okay, so if you could get your payment in, I'll reserve that spot, and I will sit in within our module in the Google Classroom. I give you the follow-up email, or not the follow-up email, the payment email, and say, okay, great, I'm going to send you the payment, get this in, and I'll save your spot. That's it. If they're a yes. If they are, maybe I just want to think about it a little bit, be like, great, let's do a follow-up within the next 48 hours. I'm still going to send you the notes I took from today, which is also helpful. It's like, is there anything else? Are there any other decision makers? Is there like someone else who's in the picture, like a husband or a parent? Like when I was doing career coaching, I worked with some college students. I'm like, is there a question that they might have that could help clear up? Great. If not, that's fine too. And then if there are not now, that's totally fine. Be like, I'm still going to send you the notes from the consult, and we'll still be in touch. We're also still good friends from this. The key with the consult, okay? I've been told to do consults, and I've done a lot of different programs about how to do it in different ways. And I used to dread consults because one of the things that was really hard for me when I was doing the where they are now and where they want to go, I had some advice to really focus in on people's pain points. And be like, it really sucks to be burnt out, doesn't it? And I was literally told in one program that I did, that I will not mention, imagine what it would be like for 10 more years for you not to have this problem. How would it be a huge problem for you? How horrible would your life be without it? I fundamentally disagree with that. I actually did it on one call, and the girl cried. I felt horrible. I was like, but your life isn't going to end up like that. If that's the way you choose to sell, that's fine. That is not what I'm going to teach you. I want you to use the consult to build someone the fuck up. I want you to be like, look at this. All of this is manageable, okay? Like, I know that you could probably figure out how to set work boundaries. I know that there are so many ways that you can learn how to manage your mind and be mindful. I know that like the wheel of life is accessible for you. Like you are going to be able to live into the life we wanted just by coming on this call. That's the first step, and that's already you becoming the person you want to be. And calendaring, there's lots of resources for that. So you've got this, and I think I could just help you to make it even faster, to make it even better. If you work with me, I think it would be awesome. I really know I can help you, but there is no pressure. And when you are like that, they're like, oh my God, I like love her. first off, or him or whoever you are, you're like, that makes me feel so empowered. It helps them because they're going to be coming to you. If you think back to the polyvagal theory, they're going to be in their sympathetic state. It helps them get to ventral vagal. It helps them think clearly and be like, oh, this actually is a really good decision for me. I'm going to be very clear and very clean. And it also, when you're thinking about like even coaching people, when you're delivering to people, you're like, okay, things are already going really well for you. How can I take it to the next level? And this is a concept I've been thinking about where you're talking about someone's life being good to great. We're going to talk about this with goals as well, like in the 13th module. But you want to be like, okay, your life is already really good. How can I help take it to great? And when you have calls like that, consults will be the most fun thing ever. You'll be like, I just get to build up people, tell them how awesome they are, tell them that their dreams are totally within their reach, and offer to help them. And it just feels so much cleaner. So that is my advice to you. Oh, and also if you're doing like a follow-up call with people, if they had to think about it, that's great too. I would only offer 30 minutes. And again, just be like, hey, why would this be a good thing for you? Why would it not be a good thing for you? And sometimes people will be like talking about coaching on objections. And when you're talking about coaching on objections, and someone's like, oh, that's really expensive. And by the way, you talk about, sorry, I didn't mention this. You talk about the price after, if they have questions, you're like, okay, here's the price. It is like $3,000 for 6 months. How do you want to move forward with that? And just sit. It's going to feel weird at the first, like, little couple times. And you might see people like, oh, that's definitely not what I was thinking. And then it's like, okay, cool. I just need to like clarify in my messaging somewhere I was not talking about how this is like a larger investment. Totally fine. You might see people who are like, oh yeah, no. And you might get people that are like, no. It's like, oh yeah, maybe, I don't know, I'm thinking about it. And if they're like that, you can just let them go. Be like, all right, well, it's like, let me know if you're thinking about it later. That's totally fine. If not, that's good too. I've seen like people trying to coach on objections and be like, you really want to work with me, and kind of doing it because like they want to work with the client more than the client wants to work with them. The only time, and I've been in business 3 years, the only times that I've ever actually really coached on objections were a time when I was like, they were like, I really, really want to work with you, but I genuinely like, I need help figuring out the money. I need help figuring out how I can fit this into my schedule. If you can help me do that, I'm so in. That's the kind of energy when you feel like they're like literally like a 10 out of 10. That's when you want to coach on objections and help them create a plan to make it happen. Not if they're like, yeah, okay, well, I'll think about it. Then they're a no for now, and that's okay. Then we can just let them go. There are more people coming. All right, so like I said, there are going to be 3 emails. There's going to be a not now, follow-up, and payment email. If they send in the payment email and you're like, hey, they actually like send the payment in, then you can make this beautiful onboarding email. I give you an example of mine. You don't need to use it, but that just talks through the flow that I had with my one-on-one clients, and it gives them like links to things that they might need. Otherwise, that is it for the post-sales. That is the only other thing that you want to send them. You don't want to send them after you send them the payment email, and let's say the time that you guys decided on is coming up, and you're like, hey, did you pay me? The only time when I would send like I was like, hey, let me know if you got the payment. I send that the morning of if they haven't paid me. And if they don't pay by that time, move on. And even after the consult, we're going to evaluate it and move on. There are more people coming, and you're going to be able to reach them. So the last piece is going to be the evaluation piece. And within the evaluation, you're going to do this quickly but effectively. You want to think about whether you were connected to the client. I've got a template for you for that. But you're also going to be talking about how to, like if you want to do a quick one, you can be like, what worked, what needs improvement, what can I do next time, and make that happen. But remember, it's a learning process. Sales are something that is a skill that's developed over time, and you are doing amazing. You're crushing it. If you've never done a sales call, we can do some like practices on our coaching calls, and I will be seeing you guys in the next module.